You're listening to Keeba-Live. Let's talk with a man with a loud microphone. Here he is, your host and mine, William Lee. Platforms, social media, and the effect it's having on our children, well, even in our communities, cities. What's going on? Well, just recently, in the last few days, Congress has really decided that there's time that we make a push forward to regulating and opening the doors of the courthouse to be able for people that have their lives affected or their children have committed suicide or been trafficked or other criminal activities to actually come to what I call a meeting of the minds to prevent these activities from happening. Now, we've been listening to this since 2016 when everybody was talking about, wait a minute, TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. Donald Trump stood up as the president of the United States and put his foot down and said, I'm going to remove TikTok. I'm going to shut them down in the U.S. Unfortunately, he never had the opportunity to do so, although he did stir the pot, which came up with some results. TikTok is not a social media platform. But everybody now, the big people in Hollywood and all the influencers and all the other, I guess, high-tech nerds have jumped on there and made it into a great child platform. Exciting things can happen. Kids can take videos of the stupidest things that they can do and put it on TikTok. Even great actors like Howie Mandel have used TikTok to naturally build a fan base, and many people have been very successful at doing so. But the problem with TikTok is the factor that every bit of information that goes into the servers at TikTok end up in Beijing. That's China, folks. Now, do you think that the communist government of China loves us? I don't think so. Wake up, America. They're listening to us. They're working our children's minds, and they are to the point where they have to either shut it down or sell the company and cut the links between China and the U.S. Now, when we get done with that, if it ever happens, we have another problem. And the problem is simply this. There's no regulation rules like the FCC is for our regular media to be a judging body of what should and shouldn't be happening. Or do we have an opportunity for the families who have lost children because of some of the social media gangsters that have moved in on social media, who have taken advantage of kids and others and extorted them, blackmailed, or even as far as that goes, turned them into carriers in the drug trade? This is absolutely not acceptable in the United States of America. Meanwhile, we watch on television and in the internet world on YouTube 5 individuals from 5 social media platforms. That's right, 5. Sit there and talk around the reason why, those are great bills that you legislators have been working on all these years, but, those are great ideas, but we want to communicate with you and work along with you. But, and every time this has come up through the legal forces of big corporations with billions of dollars that use that money to shut down these bills. That's as simple as 1, 2, 3. To get the votes to take it from the Senate to the House and make it a law never seems to make it out the door because you're fighting billion-dollar companies. Facebook, billion-dollar organization. You know it and I know it. They're being sued by different countries all over the world. TikTok. Well, we already know about TikTok. Isn't it wonderful that they are so concerned about our children and like to see we Americans act foolish while they, as I mentioned before on this podcast, suck up valuable information? But let's not stop there. Let's go to I don't know how many others that are wanting to be able to have a way of communicating. How many times did I hear the speech by one or the other of the CEOs say, oh, well, we put this together so the kids could share ideas, or we put this together so families could share ideas in general, have interests and talk to themselves in a free world of, I guess, lollipops and, well, candy bars or something. I don't understand how we could get through this whole social media episode with these 5 decent individuals, which are heading up multi-billion-dollar corporations, how we could ever think about, whoops, we might charge them through this law procedure, bills that would take some of that money out of their pockets. Yes, they all sat there with a long face and looked up at the audience who had pictures of children that were gone, that have died. And they looked at him, oh, I'm so sorry for your family grief. No family should ever have to face that particular situation. It's tearful. As we here today, all 5 of us are family-orientated human beings. Family-orientated human beings. Wow, that's interesting. If they were so family-orientated, why have they not done more to stop children from getting involved in these different types of social media platform activities that we know without a doubt that the schemers, the pedophiles, and the other individuals that are low-life scum react and take our children and blackmail them, basically, or force them into situations that they cannot get out of. Without maturity, they check the box off, tick this box, tack, oh, well, maybe, and I'll just do this, and it'll all clear up. And then all of a sudden they wake up a morning and discover that it didn't clear up, that maybe the pictures that they were coerced into sending are now over their heads, and the objectivity is, we want you to pay for what you've done, or we're going to drop the other shoe on you. What are the kids going to do without the maturity, without the safe stops that these platforms should have? They're going to take their lives, and many of them have. The rate of complaints that has come in, the figures in the last 5 years keep going up and up and up and up and up. But does the convictions keep going up and up and up? Do we see multi-billion-dollar changes? Oh, well, heavens, no. We see 5 individuals right there in the Senate room or courthouse, I guess you would call it, in the Washington, D.C., sitting there while senators are making a point of telling them, hey, enough's enough. Now, do you or do you not represent an organization that wants to put a stop to the deaths of these children simply by working with us with a regulatory committee that can work to find answers? No, they just, oh, yeah, well, we really don't agree with that bill, but we want to talk. Oh, we don't really agree about that idea, Senator, but we want to talk. I am so sick and tired of hearing that part of it that I shut off the rest of the hearing. By the way, you can find it on YouTube. Now, who wasn't there at the meetings? Google wasn't there. Isn't that amazing? They did not send a representative, nor did they get subpoenaed to show up. I was interested in why, and still am interested in why. Not saying that YouTube's doing anything out of the way, but I think it would have been fair to the 5 that were there that YouTube should be present, because they are the largest in the search engine industry and the second largest in the video industry for search engines. So therefore, and now that they're taking on podcasting, they should be there. It's a simple 1, 2, 3, but they weren't. But here's the whole, I guess, what I want to tell you, the whole thing in a nutshell, the whole problem in a nutshell, and how to stop it. Senator Graham brought out a very important part of the whole hearing, and that part was you are immune from prosecution. Can you imagine that, folks? That all cybernet organizations that build platforms like on social media, etc., are immune from being sued? For instance, if your daughter or son are forced into a blackmail situation which causes their death because there's such a shame and they don't want everybody to think, oh, Johnny was sexually a deviant or whatever, or Linda should have known better to keep her clothes on in front of those terrible cell phones instead of sex texting her boyfriend. You know what happens when they die? Nothing. Because the platform, oh, well, yeah, that's another, well, yeah. They never once, during the whole 4 hours of, I would say, absolute drilling questions, never once ever came up with will have or do or have done this action that you have suggested. Every time anybody of the legislative body brought up the different bills that are still floating around to help stop this problem, they, when asked, do you support it? They, no, but we can't wait to work with you. Hogwash, hogwash, hogwash. And a great question was brought up and directed right down the throats of the TikTok group. Oh, you're going to spend $2 billion this year in building up more infrastructure to take care and to actually view what's going on your platform to help us work with law enforcement to do all these wonderful things. At least that's what the gentleman was saying. When asked by Senator Graham, how much money do you take in a yearly base? Refused to answer. TikTok flat refused to answer. We are not ready to talk financial records at this time. And like Graham said, and I quote, well, $2 billion would be nothing compared to $100 billion, would it? And that was the end of the conversation, of course, because they all sitting there, every one of those people sitting there is making big bucks. And every one of those companies are absolutely in the billions column and making more money without any, what I call, reins to be tugged on by the government to protect our children, to pull them back into reality. The only reality that Meta has is to be able to suck more cash out of advertisers. Now then, the heaviest group of individuals naturally are going to be the younger generation with purchasing power. So we have to have our great group of marketing people making up these wonderful programs and targeting and pounding at our youth, because that's the market where our advertisers want to put their bucks. It's very simple. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Can you hear those cash registers ringing? Well, I'll tell you. One of the things that Meta should look at is being able to give everybody a pair of glasses so that they can watch their financial statement of Facebook as it goes up, 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 Instagram as it goes up, 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 and all the other activities that are being, well, we say, harvested on this particular platform. Now, I am not against free enterprise. I am not against building a business. What I'm against is building up a simple, down-to-earth product, which thousands and thousands a year are developed, that have a responsibility of safety upon their use. If the product is safe, it should be available. If the product is age-suited for an age group, that's the way it should be advertised and enforced. Social media doesn't do that, folks. Social media is for the buck. It's called social, what I call slide hand operation of cash. Sliding it from one hand to the other, making it disappear. Now, the other problem I'm going to leave you with well, I hope we're starting a conversation on this issue, is the problem of what to do as a parent. Now, of course, they hounded away about the big five, I call them now, the social media five guys. Pounded away at, well, we try very hard to do this. We try very hard to make sure the parents have the tools. I love that word. The parents have the tools to be able to stop the children from certain areas of our platform that may be harmful. Yeah, they do. They really do. They spend a lot of dollars doing that, Oh, yeah. But the problem is, by the time they get done with all this big money spending and the tools which are printed up in fine print that a lawyer would have a hard time figuring out, they don't understand why the parents can't really use them to make their platform safer when they just aren't, I would say, really high-tech savvy over the garbage that they put together so that they can come back and say, well, Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry that Johnny died. However, we put out the tools and maybe you didn't implement them correctly. We will try to make them better as time goes on. Hogwash, and bigger word of BS. And that stands for no business sense. They are out for a profit, they're killing our children, and they are not taking responsibility. The only way we can straighten this up, and I believe that it will occur, is Senate Bill 230, which says the courthouse doors will open. The Child Safety Acts and some of the other acts that are on the floor are basically written to protect children, and it's about time. We need to stop this. We need to put a fast stop on what our children can see, what our children can get their hands on, especially when we know for a fact, and it has been proven, that criminals will make big bucks distorting people on social media and bigger bucks by working over children. If you've got any information about this particular, as far as I'm concerned, virus that's taking us over, bigger than COVID-19 has ever thought about being, drop me a line. And you can simply do that by sending me an email. And you can do that simply at Keeba. That's keebaagency@gmail.com. That's Keeba, Keeba, agency@gmail.com. Well, I hope we can start a conversation and get things rolling. Back our representatives of this great country and move forward to stop our children from being harmed by the black side of social media. Until next time, remember, if you have a positive view in your mind, a conversation ready to go, love in your heart for others, you'll always keep us smiling.